Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Pink Hegel podcast. As you can see, it's not just Rachel and I this time. And I won. You said Granny wouldn't come on. This is my mom, Sue. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I phoned my mom and she said she would like to come. So we are really, really delighted to have my mom on today. Most of you know me. I'm Sally Jane, and we'll put up all our online credentials for everyone to look at. You don't have any online credentials, do you?
I don't have a single thing, no.
Are you even on Ravelry?
I think I was at one stage. I'm not sure whether I'm still there.
Mom doesn't do social media,
No.
so she doesn't have an Instagram or an anything.
No.
Yes, yeah. So I don't even think you've got Facebook, do you?
No.
No.
Deliberately not.
Yes. Well, actually, this is a good thing because my friend Sally was saying that her dad has Facebook and he's putting up all the old family photos, and she says old people shouldn't be allowed on Facebook.
Okay. That's a fair comment.
So my mom is the person that taught me to knit.
Having said that, I think I must qualify that by saying that Sally has far outstripped me in knitting now. I think, no, all the designs of your patterns and all the wonderful things that you make. I mean, I might have taught you knit one, purl one, and a bit of decreasing, but you've gone far beyond that, so.
And not to, do you remember me throwing the knitting across the room?
Oh, I remember. But I remember when I learned to knit, my gran taught me to knit, and I remember cutting it up.
No,
You know, I took a pair of
that.
scissors and cutting it up, and she was a little Scots lady, and she asked me what on earth I thought I was doing, and just to cast on again and to get on with it. So I didn't get away so easily with that.
Did you actually cut it up?
I cut it up. I took a pair of scissors. I was so mad. I cut it all up.
At what age did you learn to knit? Do you remember?
I was quite young. I was probably about 6 or 7, I think.
So about the same age.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. But I got so frustrated in the beginning, but she was having none of it. I was to put it back on the needles, and I was to get on with it. So that's what I had to do.
What do you most enjoy knitting?
I've enjoyed all the things I've knitted, I think. You know, I think now I focus more on smaller things, but I've knitted you a couple of jerseys, and I knit jerseys for the children, which I enjoy. I've ventured into some toys, which I've really enjoyed. So a whole variety of things.
Yeah. Do you find people divide themselves into two categories, and I find it hard to pick, are you what they call product knitter, like you want to get to the end to have the product, or do you enjoy the process of knitting? I find I really am quite 50-50. I like to knit, but I do like the end product.
Yes, no, I think I would have to say I'm both. Probably more getting to the end and seeing what it's like and seeing if it works.
Yeah.
The process is a means of getting there, I think.
Yeah. Great. So you've got some things to show us. You've been busy.
Yes. Shall I tell you a bit about why knitting has become quite important?
That's a good idea.
Last year in August, quite unexpectedly, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I went for a routine mammogram. There was no lump or anything, and I got the news that I had breast cancer, and so started a process, quite a long process, with chemotherapy and radiotherapy and not feeling very well and all those kind of things. And in the midst of that, we, of course, had a big move from Pretoria to Cape Town. So it was a really eventful time.
That's one word.
That's one word, yes. It really was. But we've been here in Cape Town for 6 months now, and we're really well settled. But I found that when I went for the chemotherapy, at first when I went, they put a drip in my left arm, so I couldn't do any knitting or whatever.
There's one time they gave you an antihistamine or something, and you just used to knock you out.
Yes, and that was not very pleasant. But once I had a port put in, that freed up my hands, and I thought to myself, aha, I've got 2 hours here, and this is a good time to knit. And it's been a very good experience because they put up the drip, which I then ignore, and I just put my head down literally and knit for those 2 hours. So knitting has taken on really another function for me. It's been a part of therapy, really. And I've each time I go every 3 weeks, so each time when I go, they say, what are you doing and what are you knitting? And everybody's become quite interested in what I bring along.
Yeah. A lot of people use knitting as a form of therapy, a form of pain control, a form of escaping or getting your mind away from things that you might kind of go down a rabbit hole of thinking about things or whatever. Yeah,
I think so. You know, I knit sometimes in the evening, and you know, I think it is quite therapeutic. It's a kind of if you're doing something that you don't have to concentrate much, it's a kind of a rhythmic thing, you know, and I think it's I found that helpful. I found it useful. Certainly, while I'm having the treatment, I find it very useful. I was thinking the other day, there was a lady, and I can't remember who it was, who said that she developed a love of cooking because she suffered from quite severe depression, and when she was feeling depressed, she would then cook. And I thought to myself, it's maybe a similar thing, just to you know, to take you to create something and take you to another level. So
I think creativity and doing things has really, in a lot of studies recently, been shown to be very positive for mental health and for these.
I'm actually amazed that people who come along to treatment, and some of them the treatment is up to 6 hours, they don't bring anything or do anything. You know, they just sit there. And I think if I had so much time to concentrate on what was happening to me, I don't think that would be good. I think it's really, for me, a very good idea to be somewhere else, to think of something else.
Do you feel this last year has changed you?
Well, I don't think you could be the same after you know, going through a very unexpected diagnosis and everything that went with that. And then I retired as well in October. I had planned to retire at the end of the year, but I brought that forward a bit and retired in October.
And that was also sudden. You didn't get to wrap up as much as you wanted to.
I would have liked to have done a much more organised handover to a very dear colleague who took over from me.
Because you're very organised.
I am organised, and she was very understanding. And I mean, the work was up to date and so on, but I would have liked a more structured handover, I think. So there was that, and then there was the move from a big house in Pretoria to a very small house down here, and fitting all your things in and deciding what you're not going to fit in and what you don't want. And so there was that. So it's certainly been very eventful, you know, a very eventful year. And I think it does change you, yes. I think it definitely does. You couldn't really stay the same.
Yeah. Rachel and I were talking about, and somebody was mentioning it on one of their periscopes. So it's kind of a theme that's I've seen circling a little bit at the moment, about sort of who you are and why you create and all the rest. And it reminded me of a movie called That's What I Am. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
I don't think so.
It's a very good movie. It's about a boy. It's kind of a coming of age movie. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's really well worth seeing. And they have a brilliant teacher, a teacher who they all you know, admire, and he's a career teacher, someone that's really has dedicated his life to being a teacher. And he pairs him up for a writing assignment with a boy who has bright orange hair and ears that are too big, and he's very tall and stands up. He is really part of the total outsiders group, and this boy is desperately trying to fit in. He's certainly not cool, but he's not quite at the level of the really outcast of it. And he's trying to be cool, and now he's being paired up with this boy who's you know, the opposite end of it. He's quite upset with the teacher, but actually this guy's a very good writer, and he brings out the best in him, and they choose words and they write the story or whatever. And the teacher at some point says to him, I'm a teacher, that's what I am.
Yes.
And this boy as an adult, he's looking back, and he's a writer, and he talks about this process that helped him to come to the point where he says, I am a writer, that's what I am.
Yes.
And I've had some time thinking about what is my I am, that's what I am. And that's an interesting exercise to do.
Yes, I think probably during life, and maybe simultaneously at various points, you have several I ams. You know, I am a teacher. Well, that's what I am too. But I think as well as a teacher, you're many other I ams. You know, you're a mother, a grandmother, and all of those have different identities too.
Yeah, I think it does change. throughout who you are, or
Yes.
throughout your life. And some people, but I think sometimes we're driven to, and I suppose that's in a vocational setting of either being a writer or a teacher
Yes.
or whatever. So I was trying to think of what I would classify as my, at the moment, sort of I am. And at first I sort of said, well, I'm a knitter, or am I a designer, or am I? And I think for me, what it boils down to is that I have to be busy. I need to do something. I can't really have idle hands. But that my mind moves at the same pace as that. So I am an ideas person. I'm always having rather crazy ideas and schemes.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
and yeah, my poor husband, I'll go, I've had an idea.
And you'll sort of cringe and say, give me a cup of coffee before you tell me.
And this is why people often ask me if I knit things to sell, and that's another whole thing. But I can't, because I can't make the same things over and over.
You need the variety.
It's the constant string of ideas and things in your head that you have to design or create or make or something, because you've got these things sort of running over in your head all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I think so. I think what has been interesting though is sometimes, there are 5 grandchildren, so there are some things that I've made 5 of, and by the time I've got to the 5th one, I thought to myself, let it now be finished. So there are sometimes 5 things in a row, but that's also all right. Yeah.
What's your I am, Rachel, at the moment? I think you said I am a swimmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're spending a lot of time on that. Yeah.
A lot of your focus and goals are around your swimming. Yeah. So talking.
And you also, I am a very special grandmother.
She is indeed. So talking about all the stuff you're knitting for your grandchildren.
Yes.
Tuesday, Caleb is off to, today's Thursday, Tuesday, Caleb and my dad are off to England. And we're having to get all the stuff ready to go. Hey. So,
frantic knitting.
Frantic knitting, yeah. Do you want to show them some of the things you've done? Where do you want to start?
Yes, well, I suppose I'll start at the beginning. I decided to make a little jersey for Caitlin. Caitlin is 18 months, so I made this little jersey, and but it's very difficult when I'm sitting here and she's sitting there. I have no real. I've seen her on Skype, but I have no idea really. I can't picture how big she is, so I don't know whether this jersey is going to be miles too big or miles too small. So
we can see the patterns. It's got little cables.
It's got little cables on it. Yeah.
There and in the front.
Yes.
And then sort of buttons part of the way. And I love these little pocket detail on the bottom. What pattern is this?
That was from an Afrikaans magazine that I got. So I also had to
translate.
I also had to be sure that I was doing the right thing. I had to go back to the abbreviations and just make a sure. Well, I'm fairly fluent in Afrikaans. So
I don't know if I could knit an Afrikaans pattern.
Well, if you get, I mean, there are a few basic things that you would have to find out, but apart from that, you could just.
So you want to know what knit and purl
and the cable. Once I got that sorted out, it was quite easy.
Yeah. That's lovely. It's really very sweet.
And there's another one which is not quite finished. I've done the pieces, and tonight or tomorrow I just have to sew it all up. That's a pink one. Also an up to the neck cardigan, but with long sleeves, and it's got a much more complicated. The whole thing is cabled, so that's a bit more complicated. Yeah.
You've knitted a lot more garments than me. You knit really.
Oh,
okay. My mother's done lots of.
I think for the children, I've knitted a couple of jerseys for you.
Yeah.
I have. I've not knitted a jersey for myself.
Ever?
No.
Why?
I think because it would be a big jersey, and if it didn't fit or it looked awful, I would be so disappointed.
But if you've got gauge and you...
Yes, yeah, I suppose I can.
You knit jerseys that fit the children.
Yeah, I know, yes, in some form or other. No, that's true.
I have to give you a kick in the pants.
I know, you have
I think you're going to have to knit a jersey next year.
I might have to.
But you don't get cold though, do you?
No, so a big thick jersey would not suit me.
What about a thin jersey? Like that one I just made where you just wear it open, where it's designed to be worn open.
Maybe something like that.
You could do
And it's supposed to be a bit loose. It's not supposed to be a tight, clingy.
No. So, I mean, that would probably fit quite easily.
Like we need to make one into jersey.
I like that.
So what else have you made to go to England?
Well, to go to England, I made Jenny, Sally's sister, this scarf.
It's the
This is called
Hitchhiker
yeah,
by
Hitchhiker.
Martina Bem.
I've made several of these, and I've given them to friends. And this one, you can, once you get going, you just get going, and you can go on with that. And I hope she'll like it. So,
Did you get the 42 teeth in the end?
I don't think I got 42. I think I got. I went as far as the yarn
that's
went,
the nice thing, is you can just keep going until you run out.
And then once I've blocked it and that, I think it will be
it's lovely.
long enough in that.
So it's kind of
yeah,
yellows and oranges and
Yes.
reds and pinks and stuff.
Yes.
Hey? Like a sunsetty sort of thing.
Mm.
I think she'll like that.
I hope so. You know, that they're not the colours I've seen her wearing a lot of, but
But they're
hope she'll
soft.
like-
You know, she
yes,
wears
yes.
sort of softer
Yeah,
colours. So I think it's going to be. This was a heart lamb
Yes.
yarn, wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
It was the lilies for my life.
Lilies for my
Oh,
love.
well done, Rach.
Oh,
That's exactly
very-
what it was.
very
Yes,
clever.
that's exactly
So
what
that's
it was.
a hitchhiker.
Yes. And then I found a pattern for making Christmas stockings, you see. So this is a Christmas stocking for Caitlin, who's 18 months. And
It's
it
got
has a little detachable angel as
Little
well.
angel.
So
That's just so
I had great
sweet.
fun knitting this. These little toys are called last minute toys. So they really, they don't take you terribly
And
long
this
to make.
it's a toy book by Jean Greenhow.
From
How,
the Women's Weekly series. Yes. Yeah.
So you picked a
I picked that
little
one.
angel one for her.
And then, but for my grandson, I did something a little bit different. This is a rugby boot. And I didn't know that he would like a Christmas stocking. Well, I thought he would like a Christmas stocking, but I made it and I asked Jenny what the colours were of the rugby club that he goes to. And so I've made it in those.
Is
in
this
those
his
colours.
tag rugby?
Tag
His
rugby?
little
Yes.
yeah.
He's only 5.
He's
yeah.
very sporty,
Yeah.
and so he plays rugby and all the rest. Now he has a South African mother, a father from New Zealand, and they live in England.
And the father is Chinese.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, his
so,
dad is originally Chinese.
So,
And so he has such a mixed
yeah.
heritage. We talked about our heritage episode the other day. So yeah, there's always a lot of rivalry for which team they're watching
Yes.
and who they're supporting for rugby and all the rest.
And I think
So
we've got a crisis situation coming up because
South Africa going to be playing.
South Africa plays Wales on Saturday.
That's right.
And if we get through that, our next encounter is South Africa against New Zealand. And I think there will be a division down the middle of the couch. in
Yeah.
England, with my dad and Jenny on the one side.
Oh, Daddy will be there.
Yes, and Mike and probably Rory on the other side.
Caleb will be on the one side.
So,
Well, we have to get past Wales first.
well, we do. So
And it does
let's not look
depend.
too far
Yeah,
ahead.
it does depend which team pitches up on the day. I mean, they either
Yes.
play fantastic or we don't want to mention what happened in the
Yes,
first
we
match.
don't want to mention that. But I think it was a wake up, and I
It
think
was.
they've been doing very
They have
much better
done well.
since then. So I'm rooting for the Springboks on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mother, who is just turned 96, will be coming to watch rugby with us. And I said to her, cheer, cheer.
Yeah,
So,
we're going to
yes.
knitting group and then it's
The
rugby. Hey?
yes.
Yeah. And now the piece de resistance.
Well, this was something that I saw, and I thought,
Now, is this in that same book?
yes,
Or is
it's in the same book. It's in the same book.
certainly not the one called Last Minute Gift.
No, this
No.
is certainly not last minute. You need this something a bit more.
Substantial
longer.
amount of time.
Yeah, now this is Cinderella. You can see Cinderella. This is Cinderella in her beautiful ball gown with the flowers and her fan and everything. But you can also turn Cinderella over, and then she's quite sad because she's got her rags and her duster. So she's one of those, I don't know what you would call them, an inside out sort of dolly. Yeah. And this was great fun to make. It had so many little bits and pieces, all of the patches and the duster.
Every little
and
patch is
all
attached.
the patches and the
These little-
duster and And she had to look suitably sad, and
this sort of the black, is that added on afterwards as well?
Afterwards, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the hair and the little plaits on the
Yes.
side and everything.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that was quite fun to do. I won't be doing 5 of those. That I can promise you. That's
At least
that's a one-off.
A proportion of your grandchildren are boys,
Yes.
and the other girl's a bit older. I heard.
Yes. No, so I'm very grateful.
So this is little.
So that's going over to England. That's
Caitlin's
Christmas
her
present.
little fan.
That's Caitlin's Christmas present.
Isn't that cute? The flower in the hair and everything.
So I had to concentrate a bit, for that. That I didn't take to chemotherapy.
No.
But I had to sit and know what I was doing. Yeah.
She's turned out fantastic.
Yeah,
she's really come out so well.
Yeah.
Really, really beautiful.
Granny has a lot of finished job yet.
She does, doesn't she?
You only like maybe.
Yeah. Grand's good, but it took her. If she was also podcasting every week, she wouldn't have finished one this many every week. Yeah.
No.
So I have one since I last recorded. I finished the Bonnie. Also to go. This is a tin can knits pattern in the Heartlam Greyton lace, which is 80% BFL, 20% silk. And my gauge seems a bit, I was so worried when I blocked it that it was going to be too big. I phoned Sally and I was like, it's going to be too big.
No, it doesn't look too
But
big.
it is longer than mine, which is good because I actually made mine too short. And I made the armpits longer because otherwise you don't want something that sits right up under your armpits, especially if you're going to wear a little camisole or something underneath. And I tried it on last night, and it does actually fit. So
it's looking so lovely.
There's the lacy part detailed in the front that makes a little cowl, and then
really lovely.
There's the rest of it. So I am quite chuffed. I think the colour's not coming out that well on the screen. It looks very pale, but it's actually a bit of a brighter green. So that is finished in time. So I'm very pleased with that. And I'm sure I have shown these before at various times when I made them. But these are for my little niece, Caitlin, now when Caleb goes. There's one of the Phoenix hats, which is of course the hat pattern for the Burns Unit charity that Rach and I've got that raises the money.
That's a lovely hat. It really looks really lovely.
So it's this sort of mock cable on the bottom around the rib, and then on the one side it just kind of goes up a little bit into a triangle. Now she likes wearing hats and things in her hair.
And of course the climate is suitable there. We don't. And she wears little clips in her hair.
Yeah,
in fact, in this Christmas stocking that I've made for her, I'm going to put a selection of little hair clips and whatever for her. Yeah.
So that's the one little pink hat for her. And then the other one I did a while ago, which I'm sure I showed you, was the Guess How Much I Love You pattern of mine. They're both actually patterns of mine. And I made it in a bigger size. So I used the baby pattern and I held the yarn double. And I made a slightly bigger one. So this will fit her as she goes. So from 2 up now. Whereas the other pattern I think ends at 18 months. So there's the little cables and the little ears with the thingies. And I did a contrast colour in the middle of the
You did try to do them the one way and they didn't fit.
What didn't fit?
You ran out of
I did run out of yarn. So that's why I had to do the ears with a contrast.
Well, they look lovely. If you hadn't said, I
so I think it actually looks quite cute like that.
It's very nice.
It does look nice.
It really looks lovely.
And so those are the 2 things that I've got. What I can't knit anything for Rory because he is quite fussy with what he wears. He tends to wear shorts and t-shirts all year round. He doesn't like things up by his neck. He doesn't like long sleeves. Occasionally, I think my sister can convince him to wear a sort of a zip up
sort of jacket.
Sweater, whatever.
Fleecy
top, he doesn't wear hats and he doesn't wear anything like that. He's the kid that's running around in the shorts and everyone else has got 5 layers.
He would be in the shorts in the snow.
Yeah. Actually, I think there is a picture of him in shorts in the snow.
There is probably one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I can't really knit things for him. And I don't know, he's probably more into he's getting a bit bigger now for knitted toys. And I didn't really,
yes.
so I haven't knitted him anything, and I feel a bit bad because I've now cast on a hat for my brother-in-law, which also has to be finished by Tuesday.
Wow. You know what you'll be doing at the weekend?
Lastminute.com.
Last minute.
So literally, I have just cast on the rib last night, and I'm making a Cape Point hat.
Oh, lovely.
So this is in the original pattern. There is all the different colors of the sea, but for this one for Emma, I used a self-striping yarn, and then you get the effect where it.
Is that self-striping?
Yeah, and
You
then
didn't have to join all the colours.
and then
That's
because
wonderful.
it's a chevron,
Yes.
it makes the zigzag
Isn't
pattern
that lovely?
by itself.
That's very clever.
So that was quite.
I thought you would have had to, of the old school, I thought you would have had to.
There is
join
one.
on the
Where's the one to
different
get one of the
colours.
ones that's blue? I think there's one in the trunk over there.
Different
I have
colours.
done one where you have to join all the different
Yeah.
colours. So this is the hat that I'm making my brother-in-law,
Yes.
except I'm making it in this darker colour. And then these, which is
Okay.
also self-striped.
Lovely.
This was called Steampunk, and it is a nurturing fibres yarn, and the colours are coming up that well, but it's browns. And you see here's a variety where I did change the colours in blue. You can see where I
So
actually,
you deliberately changed
there I
colours
changed the
then.
colours. And then this one, so that's if you want to change, you can put whatever colours you like. And then if you don't want to change colours, if you use a self-striping,
I think that's so
it does
clever.
that.
That's so clever.
So this one is going to go the dark,
Self-striping.
dark brown of this sort of steely grey and a
Yes.
grey.
And what's the bottom of it?
the bottom is a dark grey.
Dark grey. That's lovely. It's
And
gonna be
then,
really
so then
nice.
this will be in the middle
Yes.
there in the stripes,
Mm.
and then the dark grey will be on the top.
I'm
Okay.
sure you like
Yeah.
that. Yes.
So she said, when it's very cold, he does sometimes. He also doesn't
Yes.
wear a lot of knit. Like Emma doesn't wear lots of knitted
No.
hats, but if it gets very cold in the sort of
Yes.
colder winter months, then
He
he
would wear something.
does.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be really nice.
You've got one more finished up.
Yes, I have one more finished object. This is
Ah.
a very special finished
Yes,
object.
it is.
Where's
So
you
lovely.
see, you have to show this part of the finished object first. Last time Rachel was spinning the rolag from Stella Fiberworks that she got for her birthday, and so she finished that.
That's the little bit there.
Come out so well. It
It's
really
lovely.
is looking lovely.
And so I then knitted the little blue bird of happiness, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I knitted it last night. I mean, it literally takes just a few hours. And I don't know, it doesn't say on here who it's by, and I haven't looked it up. I'll put it in the notes who did the pattern, I'm not sure. But it is such an easy little pattern.
So pretty.
And yeah, so there's a little, how can I show her so that there's a little blue bird of happiness, which I thought it was such fun to knit. You know, Rachel had spun the yarn,
Yes.
and then I got to knit with something that my
Lovely.
daughter had spun. And I
That
don't
is so
spin, you know. I'm
lovely.
so impressed with her. It's a skill she's
Yeah.
completely taught herself. And that was the first time I'd
She's
knitted with your
done
hands
so
spun.
well.
I haven't knitted with my husband.
You haven't never knitted with your hands
No.
spun. No.
No.
So what we did last night, what we downloaded was a very special present that Rachel got from Amelia, which for her birthday, which is a spinning course,
Yeah.
Oh,
downloadable
Oh,
spinning
lovely.
course called Respect the Spindle. Hey,
I was sitting down on the couch looking at the TV waiting, and then it was 2 minutes until downloaded. And I was waiting, and then it jumped to 9 hours.
yeah, it's one of those, you know, you can't take what time something says it's going to download. It did actually take quite a while to
Long
download.
time.
So she's going to start. She got it during her birthday, but with everyone here, it has been
Yes.
too busy to try and
couldn't
watch it. So that's what she's going to. So it's called Respect the Spindle, and you have to say a big thank you to Amelia.
Thank you.
Yes. No.
Yeah. So there's the little
I think that's
her
really
first little
lovely.
hand spun thing, which I think is so cute.
That would be lovely to if you put a
a
tiny
little
bell,
ribbon or
a
something.
tiny bell round its neck, you know, like on a ribbon,
Yeah.
and you hung it on your Christmas
And your Christmas tree, yes. Put a little ribbon
Yes.
through here and then a
Yeah.
little, yeah.
That
I
would
think
be
that'd
so
be very
lovely.
Do you think there's enough left of this one to make another?
No, I don't. I was worried I would run out. I think it would either have to have a different color head or a
Maybe a white head, and then you could
Yeah.
use that for the body.
Maybe. I mean, probably what we should have done was
Lovely.
weigh the amount you had before we started. But I've now stuffed it, so I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I didn't think I'd have enough left, so I
No.
didn't bother
I think
to
it
weigh
was 50 grams or something. Not
What are
sure.
you spinning at the moment?
This one.
Is that the white?
I started
cream?
this last night.
Oh, that's your
Lovely.
White one.
BFL, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you said that's. Have you spun BFL before?
No.
No. And you said that's spinning nicely. You're enjoying that.
Yes,
Oh,
it
that's
like
lovely.
so.
Maybe if you had a small piece of that, you could do a sort of a white head.
Well,
and
that's
a
what I
blue
thought because I
body
don't.
of
Where's the
course it
little
would be.
bit? I don't
Yeah.
think that would look
No, it wouldn't.
bad together.
No,
You know, if
not
the
at
body
all.
was blue
Yeah.
and the little head was white or something.
Because
I mean, many birds have that colour.
Different colour
Yeah,
head than
yes.
the rest of the
I'm
body.
going. I've got all of this, and I'm putting like 2 row stripe in the hat I'm doing from all my hands back.
Yes, you want to make a hat,
Yes.
don't you?
I'm going to put all my things away in here. In my spinning bag. What is these?
Are those ones you've already spun?
Forward. So
Okay.
I haven't applied the pink, but there's the pink, and the most I have is in the purple.
You've done very
And
well.
then I have to apply
The green.
the green.
That would make a nice little bird too, the green.
Mm.
Lovely.
But she wanted to keep those to make a hat. She
Oh,
wants to
yes,
put them all
yes,
together
no,
to make
But
a
I've
hat.
still
Yeah,
got all
well,
this
we're-
pink
yeah.
to spin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she wants to make little
You
stripes.
need to be busy.
Yes, and then there's another one that's on the couch over there. There's her old head.
Is this all for the same hat?
Yes.
You're going to put it all together in a
It's going to be a slouchy hat. Haven't started it yet, but
Oh,
Those are lovely.
this is going to be like the main base that goes around my head, and then up to here, and then the slouchy bit's just going to go as long as I have for
like
the
a
other.
gnome, like a gnome.
Like a gnome hat.
I like
Gnome.
slouchy hair.
Yes, yes,
So this will be the base. This is a long piece.
yes. That will take you a while, won't it?
Yeah.
Lovely colours in it. Though.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I have a lot of spinning today.
So that's all our knitting at the moment, isn't it? And everything that we have to get ready to go to England
Yes.
and everything that you've made. Yeah.
I haven't knitted since the last podcast.
No, you've been mostly
Yeah, I think
spinning,
you've
haven't
been
you?
busy.
You spun the whole of yesterday to do this one, and then last night you started on.
And I was sick as well.
Yeah.
So
And you do know that you have a test on the Egyptians
Yes,
tomorrow.
I-
Yes, Granny
Aha.
helps with Rachel's homeschooling. They go, Caleb and Rachel go 1 day a week to my mom, who is a teacher by.
Long time ago,
long time
very
ago.
long time ago.
But you've always enjoyed teaching, no matter
Well,
what roles you've done.
I've always taught
Yeah.
or developed training material. It's usually been adult education. Yes.
Not so much classroom
No,
teaching.
not classroom teaching.
Yeah.
but you trained to be a classroom
Yes,
teacher.
absolutely.
That's why I think what you sort of you change as you go along. But there are some
Yes.
core things about who you are that sort of stay the
Yes,
same
yes.
throughout.
All I have to do today is write everything out again.
Yeah, practice writing out. We did go through it last night.
Oh,
I'm
So,
forgetting the canopic jars the most.
what thing goes in which
it's
canopic
not.
jar?
It's not. That's not the main thing. The main thing is to be able to work with the knowledge that you have. You know, I don't want you or expect you to just spit it back at me. That would not be very helpful. I want you to have the knowledge and then to be able to work with it. So you'll see tomorrow.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's been very nice to be with you. It's been
Excellent.
lovely to see the things that you've been doing too.
Yeah, it's been. It must have been my mom's patience for some of these little things, and
Yes.
it's quite incredible. And of course, I mean, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and everything here in our little.
All the trees are pink.
Yes, everything's covered.
Sort of
Everything's covered.
material around
Pink
it, yeah.
material.
Does that feel different now? Do you look at it differently when you see everything covered in pink?
Not really. I don't think. I think for me too. My background is that I worked for 25 years within the field of palliative care, with patients and with staff and developing training material. So I was well versed in what cancer was all about. I think you look at it slightly differently, obviously, when it's happening to you.
Yeah.
But I did have that background knowledge, which I think was very useful.
I know some people tend to be a bit cynical about it, about all the pink, and they say, especially when companies say they'll give a portion of the proceeds, but the rest actually going to them. So sort of people feel that people are making a profit off the disease or something. Some people can be a bit cynical about it.
I don't go that route. I think that if you get more awareness out there and you get people to feel more comfortable with if they did have a breast lump, not to wait and to be more comfortable to go and consult somebody and see what could be done, because I think the earlier you find something and treat it, the better you are. And I think also and in some of our poorer communities, there needs to be a lot more awareness of breast cancer, and
they've got those mobile clinics now, don't they? Those mobile detection units.
Step forward,
because before, I mean, if you had private medical insurance, you could go off and have your annual or whatever mammogram. But in a poorer community, your access to screening was very limited, and so they've got these big pink vans that drive around and do in areas early detection.
And I think the more it's spoken about too is a great thing, because I think with any cancer, people tend to hide it away or not speak about it, and I know it's getting a lot better, but I think the more you speak about it, the more you deal with it, the more you tell young people about it, the better, really.
Has it changed anyone's reactions to you, or have you?
Well, so many of my friends come from the same kind of background of palliative care as I do. So for them, no, I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a community of friends who, it's our daily life.
We work in the field.
We work in the field, so there was nothing. I think, it's been quite strange. At one stage, of course, I had no hair, and now my hair's grown back, and people who've seen me, now that my hair's grown back, and they'd say, "Oh, you look so good," and I felt like saying, "Well, how did you expect me to look very bad?" But different people have reacted in different ways, But I've had a wonderfully supportive group of friends, and I think that's helped. And of course, I don't even need to say how supportive my family have been, and they've been absolutely wonderful.
Because you're wonderful.
Oh, well,
we're only like we are because of you. If you want to know why we do all the things we do and do our community projects and have an outward focus to everything, it's because that was what I was taught, and so it's.
And I think a big part of that was Dad too.
Yeah, well, of course, as a family, that's how we were raised. To be.
Absolutely.
To think of others and to
and that's what he still does
that's
today.
What both my parents are like. So but I don't think we'll get Dad on a knitting podcast.
Not on a knitting podcast. You might get him onto something if it wasn't knitting, but
although he's quite creative himself.
Oh, he's extremely creative.
He
Talk
might
about
be
his plant boxes.
Exactly. He might be a doctor, but he also
paints.
He paints. He does oil painting. He did a fine arts degree while we were growing up. He didn't. Or he was never just one thing. I think he also, at his heart, is creative.
Very creative. Very good with his hands. Makes things. He made wooden toys, and
that's right. He made all toys for us when we were growing up.
He and Caleb are painting a shield at the moment, because Caleb and I are doing a project on ancient weapons. So the shield is in the garage in the process of being painted. And I think when they go overseas, they're going to a couple of castles.
Oh, he's going to love it.
And see what we've been talking about. The moat and the keep and the suits of armor are going to become real.
Because we don't have any castles here. There's nothing old enough. There's nothing old enough here to. But I suppose there's the De Castile which is a sort of is that 17?
It's a fort.
Yeah, it's a fort. Really.
Yes,
it's not very old like the ancient.
And it's not the same kind of. It doesn't come from the same background of having sieges and bombardments and trebuchets and catapults, and so I think that a visit to somewhere like Warwick Castle will just be absolutely fantastic.
Remember when we went there and they had that trebuchet and they shot something across the thing?
Yes, I think you'll love it. Yeah. No, I'm so pleased that he can go and see that, and it all, as I say, that's what history. It needs to become real. We need to see, what we've been learning about in the books.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's our creativity and then who we are comes a lot from you and Dad.
Yes,
You know, they're both very creative and both very altruistic, caring kind of people. And so, yeah.
I think what's been so interesting too is that all the members of the family have displayed that creativity in different ways.
Yes.
You know, Jenny, our eldest daughter in London, she ices cakes very beautifully.
She does the cakes,
cake
yeah.
decorating, beautiful cake decorating, especially cakes for children. And she sews as well, and she's very creative. She's a teacher by profession and very creative in her thinking about teaching. You know, sort of what would be a good way to convey this concept creatively.
Yeah.
And then Sarah, who was the most strictly artistic of the three, went to an art school and then decided after doing all that she would do a BCom.
Go off and do business, I know.
And she's in business herself now, but still very creative, has done some mosaic work. And
she made the big deer head.
Yes, she got a polystyrene sort of deer buck head and then has covered the whole thing with mosaic. It's really, really quite impressive, yeah. And a very creative approach to, say, dressing and putting things together.
Yeah.
So creativity comes out in so many different ways.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to. I can't draw very well, you know, for example, but David will usually ask me when he's done something, what's wrong with this? And I'll be able to say, well, I think, you know, your balance is a bit off there.
So you can have an eye for something.
I can have an eye for something, although I can't do it myself. You know, I can't do what he does.
But you did pottery. You did loads of pottery, and you've done all sorts of things.
Yes.
Sewing. You sew beautifully, Mom.
Yes, I haven't sewn for a long time. Very interesting. I don't have a sewing machine at the moment because it really collapsed before we left Pretoria, so I gave it away. And for my birthday last week, I had a lovely surprise. Everybody clubbed together and they've given me a voucher to go and get a new sewing machine. So that's something Sally and I will go off on a little mission. Maybe you'd like to come with us, Rach?
And find
a sewing machine. And then Rachel and I will be doing some sewing.
Yes.
No, I know how beautifully, Mum. I mean, I can do the basics. I can do very, very basic sewing. But Rachel wants to learn to sew, and I know the right person to teach her to sew. That's for sure.
I tried sewing on your sewing machine, but my lines sort of went like this and like this.
Well,
it does in the beginning. You have to just practice sewing straight lines, and not to sew too fast.
And the more you practice, the better you get. You know, and then you've got to just say, well, you know, here's the material, here's the pattern, give it a go and see how you get on, you know. And I've got some material and some very nice material somebody gave me that came from Zambia.
Oh, lovely.
Some lovely bright colours, and I think Rachel will enjoy that. We'll do it together.
Yes, I don't think I could sew that.
Well, you could do the straight seams and I'll do the fiddly bits. Yeah, I think we'd get on fine.
I remember in the beginning, the thing you've got to learn is how to control the foot. You know, so you don't go right straight across the whole thing.
But like driving, you know, when you put your foot on the accelerator for the first time, you know, the person who's teaching you, their hair sort of curls or stands on end. And
that was another story, wasn't it?
That was another story. And I think you've got to learn to control the speed and you know, the foot.
I drove the car into the driveway once.
As long as you didn't drive it into the wall.
No, you with Papa. Hey.
Okay.
No, I've sworn I'm not teaching them to drive.
No,
that's not going to be a good idea. It was a traumatic experience to learn to drive. I'm certainly not teaching. I'm sure it was as traumatic for you to teach.
I remember going down a hill with Sally, and we went down the hill, and I thought she was sort of going to brake before we went round the corner, but we kind of swung around the corner. How we didn't, you know, collect a couple of cars.
Well, you had the momentum of going down the hill, and then somebody had told you need to drive into the corner.
Yes, I know.
So they failed to mention you're supposed to slow down
first. You know, the thing was to slow down, brake, and then drive into the corner. But the braking part got left out. So it was going down the hill and driving into the corner.
And whizzing around the corner, just about screeching on two wheels or something.
No, that really was a bit hair raising. But we survived it.
We somehow did.
We did, and
Well, thank you for joining us, and a bit of a different episode from usual, having a new guest. It's normally just Rachel and I blathering along.
Thanks.
So Yeah, and I'd love to hear in the comments on the group how you identify your I am. When you say to yourself, I am, what are the things that come to mind that you think of? And then we can carry the discussion on over there. So thank you, and we'll say goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.